Hello guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel, where today I'm going to be giving my top 10 Premier League signings of the summer. Now of course this is always going to be a difficult list to do because so many quality players join the Premier League every single year, and this year is no different. But I've tried to give my top 10 Premier League signings of the summer, and let's see whether you guys agree or disagree. So at number 10 I've got Said Benrahma from Brentford, who's now gone to West Ham on loan. Personally, I'm really excited with this signing because I think he's a really good player. Last year he managed 17 goals and 9 assists in the Championship, and obviously we don't know how well he's going to do in the Premier League. He could come and flop like Adel Taarabt did, or he could end up being a Riyad Mahrez, do really well for West Ham and end up playing for a bigger club. And I hope that it's the latter because, he's a really exciting player, and, I think he's a good addition to the Premier League and a good addition to West Ham because, they lack those kind of creative players. They've got basic players like Declan Rice and Mark Noble who, do their job really well, but they're not the best creative players. So I think Said Benrahma is a really good signing, and that's why I have him at number 10. Now at number 9, I've gone for Alan, who obviously joined Everton from Napoli. Personally, I think this is a really big signing from Everton because, he's a player who's been playing in the Champions League year in, year out for Napoli, and always kind of been in and around Juventus in the Serie A, and now he's gone to Everton, who obviously they don't even have Europa League football. I think it's a big statement signing, and I think he's also a very good player. He's he can play CDM or centre mid. He's a box-to-box midfielder who kind of does the dirty work and allows for the more creative players to do their job. And I think that personally that he's one of the best signings Everton have made in the past couple of years, because usually they sign players that they don't really need, and they sign a lot of attacking players like Sigurdsson who end up flopping. So I'm actually glad that they've gone and got a player who allows the creative players to do their job by kind of doing all the dirty work. And yeah, that's why I have him at number 9. Now at number 8 I've got a left back, which is Alex Telles, who obviously joined Manchester United from Porto. Now Man United were first supposed to get Reguilon, but after that deal fell through, they went for Telles, and I think personally he's the better player. Obviously he's older, which you can see as a disadvantage or advantage depending what way you look at it, but he's got crazy goal involvements for Porto. Last season he got 13 goals and 12 assists in all competitions, which shows he's a really attacking fullback. And just seeing him play against PSG, you can see that he has a really good delivery, and he always wants to get up and put crosses into the box, which I think Man United have lacked since guys like Evra and Neville retired. And also he only cost 14 million, which I think is a bargain, especially for Manchester United, who usually get overpriced for players. So yeah, I think he personally will replace Luke Shaw as a left back in the long run, and probably could end up being one of the best fullbacks in the league. Now at number 7 I have Kai Havertz, who joined Chelsea from Bayer Leverkusen, and I think this is also a really good signing from Chelsea. He's a young player, 21 years old, and he got 18 goals and 9 assists for Bayer Leverkusen last season in all competitions, and I think that kind of goal output can be really helpful for a team like Chelsea, who I think were lacking creativity last season, because I think guys like Mason Mount, he's a decent player. I personally don't think he's quite at that level that Chelsea need him to be. So I think Havertz is a player who already is a very good player and can go on to be even better. He's already got a hat-trick for Chelsea, although it was against Barnsley in the League Cup, but it kind of shows that what damage he can do if you play him in the right positions. And I think he's a player who can go on to be one of the best players in the world, and Chelsea have got him in early, so that's why I've got him at number 7. Now at number 6 I have got ex-Tottenham superstar Gareth Bale. I think Gareth Bale is a really good signing for Tottenham, because even though they technically didn't need him, they've got Lucas Moura and Eric Lamela who can cover on the wings. I think he's a different quality compared to them. He's on the level of his Son and Kane, and of course he's won 4 Champions Leagues for Real Madrid. And even as last season at Tottenham, he got 21 goals and 9 assists in the Premier League, and I think Tottenham will be hoping that he can do similar for them this season. Obviously he's 31 years old now and he's had a lot of injuries, personally, I still think he can do the business for Tottenham because, I think his time at Real Madrid, especially his last couple of years, should not be taken too seriously because, he was on the bench and he didn't really want to play. So I think we need to look at his numbers from what he done for Real Madrid before and Tottenham before. And I think based off that, Gareth Bale can be a really good signing for Tottenham. And I certainly think he's a player that fits the mould of Jose Mourinho in the sense that he's experienced and he's a leader. So I think that if that front three clicks with Harry Kane, Son and Bale, that could be one of the best front threes in Europe. So yeah, I think Gareth Bale has been a really good signing and I've got him in at number 6. Now at number 5, I've got a bit of a risk because, this player has cost a lot of money. Namely £64 million, and I don't know if he's going to live up to that price tag, but I've gone with Ruben Diaz at number 5, and that's purely because I think he's first of all a really good defender. He's been doing really well at Benfica, and I think that the fact that Man City have got him, it's a big signing for them. But also I think that Man City had a real big issue at centre back. Obviously Kompany retired and guys like Otamendi are not up to it, and Laporte spent a lot of the season injured last season. So I think that, by buying Ruben Diaz, they've addressed a really big problem. And I'm not sure if he's going to be good enough to close the gap on Liverpool this season alone. But I definitely think that he can help the defence sturdy up a bit. And that's why I've gone with him at number 5. Now moving on to number 4, I've got Timo Werner, the ex-Leipzig striker. 24 years old. Last season had really good numbers for Leipzig. He actually got 34 goals and 13 assists in all competitions, that's crazy numbers. That's among the best in Europe, and I think Chelsea will hope that he can replicate that form for them this season in the Premier League and the Champions League. I think he's had a decent start. He just got his first 2 goals against Southampton on the weekend, and he's also got 2 assists under his name. So that's 4 goal involvements so far this season, and I think it's a decent start from him. He's going to take time to settle into the team, and Chelsea have bought a lot of players this season, so it's understandable when they don't all click straight away. But I think Werner mixed with Havertz, you've got a good German connection there, and I think he's an improvement from Tammy Abraham. Even though I think Tammy Abraham is a good striker, I think Timo Werner is on the edge of world class, and he certainly can be world class. So I think they got him for 45 million, which is also quite cheap for a player of his quality. And yeah, I think he's a really good signing, and that's why I've gone with him at number 4. Now this is where it gets interesting as we get into our top 3. And at number 3 I have Thomas Partey, the player from Atletico Madrid that Arsenal have just signed after activating his release clause of 45 million. And I think this is a really, really good signing from Arsenal. He's a player who Arsenal have needed for many years, a player that they thought Lucas Torreira would be for them, but it hasn't quite worked out with him. I think he's the closest replacement to a Patrick Vieira. He's 27 years old, experienced, has played under Simeone, so he knows how to defend, he knows how to protect the back four, and I think he's a really good signing for Arsenal. I think a lot of clubs could have done with him this season. I think it's a big move for Arsenal to get him, considering that Partey would have played Champions League football with Atletico Madrid, but instead he ended up joining Michael Arteta at Arsenal, which probably shows that Arteta has a real project which Partey could get behind. And I think that whilst Arsenal need a lot more players in the midfield, especially a creative player, I think signing Partey is a good start. I think it's better to kind of sort your defence out first and then your attack. So I think Partey is a really good signing for them at number 3. Now, number 2, I've gone with Thiago, who obviously joined Liverpool from Bayern Munich for only 27 million. And I think it's a brilliant signing from Liverpool because, I think they lack that kind of player. Obviously, Wijnaldum, Henderson, Fabinho are all really good players, but they kind of lack that real creative quality. All 3 of them are really hard workers and they're solid defensively, but I don't think anyone comes close to the quality of Thiago. And I think if one thing that people had to say about Liverpool's midfield was that it doesn't have enough creativity and quality, and I think Thiago definitely adds that. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits into the team, and that's kind of why I put him in at number 2, number 1, because we still don't know how well he's going to do in the Liverpool system, but I think he will do well. I think he's going to take some time to adjust to the Premier League, but I think in the end that he will end up becoming a fan favourite at Liverpool if he isn't one already. So yeah, Thiago is who I've put in at number 2. Now, before we get to number 1, I'm going to give a couple honourable mentions who didn't get onto this list, but I still think were really good signings. I think Aston Villa had a really good transfer window by getting in Ollie Watkins, who obviously scored a hat-trick against Liverpool, Ross Barkley, who won them the game against Leicester just the other day, and Emi Martinez, who had a really strong end to the season with Arsenal when he ended up joining them for 20 million. I think that's 3 really good signings for Aston Villa, and obviously they sit top of the Premier League right now. Now, of course, I don't think they're going to win the Premier League or even, finish in the top 4, top 6, but I think, a top 10 finish could be on for Aston Villa this year, thanks to those signings. I also have to mention Decore, who, Everton signed from Watford. He's a really good player, and I think similar to Alan, he kind of does the dirty work and allows the creative players to flourish. But also, I think he's got a bit of quality himself. He's strong, he can glide with the ball, and he's got similarities to Pogba, in my opinion, when it comes to kind of attacking with the ball. Other than that, I've got Ziyech, who Chelsea signed from Ajax, and I think, again, that's a really good signing. I think he really adds quality into that Chelsea attack. And he hasn't played yet for Chelsea because of injury, but I'm sure when he does come into the team, he'll be a really good addition to the squad, and provide Timo Werner with a lot of assists. And also I've got Nathan Ake in here, who Man City also signed from Bournemouth. I think, again, maybe he won't start. I think Laporte and Ruben Diaz will be the starting centre-backs, but I think he's a real big upgrade on someone like Otamendi, and he adds squad depth into the team. I also want to give an honourable shout out to Edouard Mendy, and that's simply because Kepa is a terrible goalkeeper. I don't know how good Edouard Mendy is and how he's going to be, but I think he's an improvement on Kepa, which says a lot about Kepa. But I think that, as long as he doesn't make errors that, cost his team the game like Kepa does, I think he'll do fine. And lastly, I want to mention Reguilon, who obviously Tottenham signed from Real Madrid. I think something that makes the signing maybe not as good as it is the fact that, Real Madrid have a buyback clause, and I think that if he plays well, which I'm sure he will, Real Madrid will buy him back. So it's essentially a loan signing, but a good signing nonetheless. So now let's get on to number 1, and number 1, if you haven't guessed already, is James Rodriguez, who of course Everton signed this summer, apparently for a free transfer from Real Madrid, and I think it's a brilliant bit of business from Everton, because not only is he a quality player, he's also a player that's well known worldwide, and I think it kind of really puts Everton up there with the big teams in the Premier League in terms of quality of player. And he's had a really, really good start to life in the Premier League. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists for Everton so far this season. And I think, he's going to be the player who takes Everton to the next level. They haven't had a player as good as him before. They obviously had Sigurdsson, who I think is a good player, but he's nowhere near the quality of James Rodriguez. I think James is, the perfect player to play behind Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. And we're seeing that this season, both of them are on fire, and it's thanks to James Rodriguez. And I think Everton are going to do well this season. I think personally, top 6 is a real possibility, maybe even top 4. And I think that the only way that will be possible 100% will be if James Rodriguez turns up for them, and I think he will. I think he's a really good player who's had a rough time at Real Madrid because of all the stars that they've got. He had a decent at Bayern Munich, but again they didn't opt to sign him because of all the superstars they've got. But I think at Everton he's kind of going to enjoy his football again, and maybe bring them to the level that the owners are trying to achieve. The Everton owners are really ambitious. They've spent a lot of money the past couple of years, but it hasn't quite worked out. I think James Rodriguez will kind of be that first player to really kind of start moving Everton towards where they want to be, and that's why I think that he's the best signing of the Premier League this season. So yeah, that was it for today's video. for top 10 Premier League signings of the summer. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Obviously it's my first video, so I would really appreciate any sort of feedback in the comments, and I'll listen, I'll try to improve. But yeah, nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. There's a lot more to come. Just like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.